lamp has been on since 9 o'clock. I counted the seconds between your last message and mine. There was a book I opened and couldn't read, and a cup of tea I let go cold in time. I wrote your name once in the margin, then tore the page and folded it like snow. The night keeps all the things we couldn't finish, and asked for nothing back. If the night forgives us what we left unspoken, I'll let the lamp burn low and not explain. We were careful with each other in the darkness, and that's the kind of care that doesn't drain. If the night forgives us, I'll sleep soundly with only the hum of the street below. Past the corner where we used to decide which There's a drawer I keep in the back of my chest, where the older feelings fold themselves to rest. A faded color from a coat I wore at 20, when I thought that choosing cost me less. The drawer holds nothing broken, only finished. The things I loved before I knew the cost. I don't go back to open it and grieve there. I go to know that I was whole. A soft place for old feelings, like an autumn hollow, where the leaves come down without a sound. Not a wound that opened, just a field in winter, where something beautiful once found the ground. A soft place for old feelings, still and waiting, not for rescue, just to be allowed. I walked along the water in the early cold, when the willows hadn't quite decided yet. The river moved the same way it had always moved, through the part of me I haven't finished yet. I touched the bark of something old and certain, and felt the years arrange themselves like light. The water doesn't mourn, the wind just keeps being water, clear and bright. A soft place for old feelings, like an autumn hollow, where the leaves come down without a sound. Not a wound that opened, just a field in winter, where something beautiful once found the ground. A soft place for old feelings, still and patient, ready when I'm ready to sit down. The old feelings know they're welcome in the evening. I set a lamp for them beside the door. They never ask for more than just the sitting, a little warmth, a breath, and nothing more. They leave the way the season always leaves, a soft place, still here, like the field in winter, waiting for the green. You came in on a Thursday without warning, the kind of rain that doesn't ask permission. I had plans, a yellow coat, a Tuesday mood, and you rearranged the whole day's composition. I stood under the awning counting buses and chose instead the cafe with a view. I've blamed you for arriving without knocking, but maybe that was just what you do. When I forgive the rain for being rain, I find the afternoon has something in it still. The wet pavement holds that particular glow, the kind of light that only comes when sky is spilled. When I forgive the rain, the window shows me all the softer things I'd rushed right past. There was a summer when the rain came every evening. Just before the hour I walked home alone. I started leaving later past the market just to be inside the downpour on my own. I learned the smell of pavement after impact, the way the world resets when it gets wet. I don't know when the anger became fondness, but the shift was so complete I don't regret. When I forgive the rain for being rain, I find the afternoon has something in it still. The wet pavement holds that particular glow, the kind of light that only comes when sky is spilled. When I forgive the rain, I find inside me something like the clearing that comes after. Thursday rain became a Thursday habit. I checked the forecast just to watch it come. There's something in forgiving what you can't control that leaves you lighter than you were before the downfall. I keep an extra coat now by the door. When I forgive the rain, it forgives me too. The window clears, the yellow coat still fits. I turn the chair to face the window properly, the way you do when you stop pretending work. The city had gone quiet in its usual way. That Tuesday night hush when the lights don't hurt. I found the mug I'd left from this same hour. Some other night I tried to outrun sleep. There's a body tired underneath the restless, and the night's the only one who knows how deep. If the night brings rest, then let it come tonight. I've been holding something open way too long. The shoulders know before the mind admits it, the difference between fighting and being strong. If the night brings rest, I'll meet it willingly and put the unanswered things beside the bed. I had a conversation I'm still revising, the one where I said almost what I meant. I drove home through the underpass at speed and sat in the driveway till the radio went. I've held that night between my shoulder blades, the way a muscle holds a long ago wrong. But tonight the neck is loose, the jaw unclenches. I think the body's decided to move on. If the night brings rest, then let it come tonight. I've been holding something open way too long. The shoulders know before the mind admits it, the difference between fighting and being strong. If the night brings rest, I'll let it. The city outside goes on without my help. The chairs were still outside when I came down. Someone had moved the plant pots to the door. The road was full of small deliberate puddles, reflecting all the things I'd been before. I made coffee in the cup with the small handle, the one too small for two but just right alone. The storm did what it came to do and left me with a version of myself I almost know. The morning after the storm, the world is darker in the colors. The green is more itself, the sky a cleaner gray. I don't know what I'm free from, only that I'm moving through a version of the air that's lost its weight. The morning after the storm, I make small promises. Just the kettle, just the door, just one more day. I stayed under the lamp for most of it, I'll admit, with something I'd half read for 3 weeks running. The window held the full force of the weather, and I watched from the dry side without running. There was a branch that kept insisting on the glass, like something trying to confirm that it was real. I'm grateful for the things I didn't lose, and careful now with what I couldn't feel. The morning after the storm, the world is darker in the colors. The green is more itself, the sky a cleaner gray. I don't know what I'm free from, only that I'm moving through a version of the air that's lost its way. The morning after the storm, I step outside at last and let the washed, clean morning find my face. There's a neighborhood that looks the same but different, the way a person looks the day they've made a choice. The storm took all the things that weren't quite rooted and left behind the ones that had a voice. I am apparently among the things still standing. The morning after the storm, the chairs come back outside. I carry mine to the spot where the light lands first. the street, better than the people passing through it. It holds the morning light without complaint, and the evening in its frame, the whole root of it. The scaffolding went up and came back down, and the window watched and held its steady place. There's a patience in the things that stay behind that teaches the rest of us our pace. Portrait of a patient window, holding everything it's seen. The bakery, the argument, the couple in the rain. It doesn't choose the beautiful above the difficult. It holds the whole street in the same unchanging frame. Portrait of a patient window, still and constant, giving back the light it's been collecting since the start. By 5 o'clock the window holds a different city. The working faces swapped for slower ones. The couple with the stroller and the older man who stops and checks the window like he's counting suns. I've been coming here for 3 years every Tuesday, and the window keeps my outline in its glass. There's a kind of love in being witnessed fully and returned to as the seasons pass. Portrait of a patient window, holding everything it's seen. The bakery, the argument, the couple in the rain. It doesn't choose the beautiful above the difficult. It holds the whole street in the same unchanging frame. Portrait of a patient window, still and giving. The way that love is when it doesn't need a name. I wanna be like that, to hold the full of it, the grief beside, the laughter side by side, to keep the shape of things I've witnessed carefully, without deciding what they mean inside. The window doesn't know it's being painted here, but patience always draws its own self true. Portrait of a patient window, still here, still holding all the light it's ever kept. There's a road outside the town that loops back always, no matter how far out you think you've driven. The trees are different colors for each mood, the yellow ones for things you've been forgiven. I drove it in the slow way, window open, the way you drive when you're not going somewhere. There's a season made for coming back to people, and the hardest part is knowing which you are. A season for gentle returns, the long ones when everything you carried feels less heavy. The door has been unlocked for longer than you knew, and the person on the other side was ready. A season for gentle returns, not urgent. just the soft kind, like the light in October gold. I went back to the place where I was smaller, to stand inside the doorway of the room I used to know. The window measured time in different angles, the same tree in the yard, but taller now below. I touched the frame and felt how much had happened inside the space between who stood there then and now. The room was patient with the person I'd become. It held the distance with a gentle brow, a season for gentle returns, the long ones when everything you carried feels less heavy. The door has been unlocked for longer than you knew, and the person on the other side was ready. A season for gentle returns, I'm almost there. The last few miles are always the most tender. I've been away from something all this season, not a person but a version of my own self, the kind of you that knows it's worth returning, the one you put too carefully on a shelf. The season for gentle returns, the trees agree I'm coming back slower than I left. I've been writing this in my head for 17 drafts, moving the words around until I lost the feeling. The feeling was there first before the sentence, before the grammar and the need for proper meaning. But here at the table at the end of Tuesday, the whole thing fits in 4 or 5 plain words. Not everything worth saying needs a sentence. Some things just need to be heard. When words fit in one breath, the truth comes through, no longer and no shorter than it has to be. I've been making it more complicated than the actual, just to have something to carry home with me. When words fit in one breath, I believe them. It's the long ones that have always been the lie. There's a draft I've kept in the phone for 7 months, 40 words that used to be 200. I reduced it down past everything till only the essential thing remained unhurried. I read it back and found it finally honest, the kind of honest that I'd edited away. The sentence knows when it's become the real thing. It doesn't ask for more time to say. When words fit in one breath, the truth comes through, no longer and no shorter than it has to be. I've been making it more complicated than the actual, just to have something to carry home with me. When words fit in one breath, I'll send it and trust the plain thing is the right one after all. All the beautiful long speeches I'd rehearsed were beautiful because they kept me at a distance. The real thing wasn't beautiful at all. It was just clear, clean, and without insistence. Clear like a window after all the weather's done. When words fit in one breath, I breathe them out and find the space where they were always meant to land. I sat by the window through the afternoon when the weather made decisions without asking. The glass held all the gray and the dramatic, while I sat on the inside quietly watching. There was a candle on the table doing nothing, just being there, which was exactly right. The storm was real and large and full of meaning. I stayed inside and kept it in my sight. The window that held the storm is still the same window on the morning when the street is dry again. It held the full weight of the rain and didn't shatter. Now it holds the quiet after all that came. The window that held the storm. I want to learn that, how to hold things whole without breaking from within. There was a season when the inside and outside were the same temperature. I'd lost the border. I moved through rooms without a center anywhere. The window then was just another corner, but someone left the candle in the sill, and the glass became a wall that chose its side. The window held the cold outside and kept it, and I was on the warm side. That was mine. The window that held the storm is still the same window on the morning when the street is dry again. It held the full weight of the rain and didn't shatter. Now it holds the storm. It doesn't speak of it, but carries every weather in its glass. I've been keeping count of everything I've carried, the difficult seasons folded into the years. The window never asked me to be finished. It only asked that I remain out here inside the room where the light comes back to settle after every storm I've kept inside my glass. The window that held the storm still holds the light. The candle on the table still doing nothing perfectly. I've been counting backward through the years to find the place where I first stopped counting. The river in the valley of that spring, when I chose the longer path around the mountain. I thought I was avoiding something urgent. I was only making time for what would come. The gentle reckoning is not a court of judgment. It's the quiet ledger of a life. The gentle reckoning with time, not a verdict. More the way a season closes out its books. The losses and the found things side by side. No reason to hide from what the balance looks. A gentle reckoning with time, I'm sitting with it. In the afternoon that slants across the floor. Inside a box I'd moved 3 times unopened, a photograph of someone I had been. She's standing at the edge of something ending, with the look of one who has not yet foreseen. I looked at her a long time without crying, which was its own kind of arrival. I don't owe the past my explanation, only the present has that right to it. A gentle reckoning with time, not a verdict. More the way a season closes out its books. The losses and the found things side by side. No reason to hide from what the balance looks. A gentle reckoning with time, I found the number, and it adds to something I can trust. Time doesn't forgive the way a person does. It doesn't hold the grudge to offer pardon. It only keeps becoming the next moment, regardless of the way we've been to carry. I've been accounting on a ledger already closed. A gentle reckoning with time. The ledger closes. The cello sounds the final figure and leaves leaves the silence open. The light comes down the hallway before I'm ready, but it doesn't wait for me to adjust. It finds the second stair before the third one, the way that every morning finds the dust. I had my keys already when I noticed the specific shape of early on the floor. There's a quality to first dawn light that doesn't stay long enough to ask for more. The first light on the stairs, it doesn't knock first. It just arrives and fills the place it's meant. I'm standing at the top with all my leaving things, and the light came up to meet me where I went. The first light on the stairs, I leave my worry on the step above the one the light had reached. I've come in on the early side before this, the kind of early that's still technically last night. The stairs were all in darkness, then I noticed the line of morning at the bottom, thin but right. I climbed toward it like a strange appointment, each stair carrying me further from the dark. The light was patient at the landing, waiting, and I was finally early enough for it. The first light on the stairs, it doesn't knock first. It just arrives and fills the place it's meant. I'm standing at the top with all my leaving things, and the light came up to meet me where I went. The first light on the stairs, I'll be there also tomorrow and the morning after that. There's a life in the specific hour of arriving, when the door opens into something starting fresh. Not every morning has to be a declaration. Some days the first light is enough itself. I climb the stairs into whatever comes. The first light on the stairs, the keys in my hand. There's a cafe on the corner I've been coming to since before the newer chairs, the painted wall. I know the sound the coffee grinder makes at 5, and the playlist that they run before last call. There's a song they always say for when it's almost closing time, the one that asks you gently to go. It's not a sad song, and it's not a happy one. It's the song that says the day is done. The last song before closing, I can hear it, the way you always hear the final thing. The table's going quiet in their sequence. The couple in the corner gathering the last song before closing. I don't hurry, I stay just long enough to hear the last line. I drove the long route home from that direction, through the part of the city that stays lit always, past the building with the windows facing outward, in the park that asked the dark to stay a little. I had the song still somewhere inside my chest, that last song still undone inside the drive. The drive was long enough to let it settle, and settle is exactly what it did. The last song before closing, I can hear it, the way you always hear the final thing. The table's going quiet in their sequence. The couple in the corner gathering the last song before closing. It stays with me longer than the things I tried to keep. I've memorized the order of the closing, the chairs stacked up, the lights, the key indoor. The last song always sounds a little different when you know it's the last song once more. The last song before closing, still in me somewhere on the drive home, through the last traffic light before I turn. We were standing at the crossing near the station. The light was going through its long decision. Your hand moved toward mine the way a thought does before it's been confirmed by the collision. The light changed to the one that means we're moving, and the moment went the way the crossing goes. I've replayed that corner in all seasons, and I still don't know who almost was the one. The hand I almost held at the crossing is the weight I carry lightly through the day. Not a wound, more like the shape of something. The past close enough for me it was there. The hand I almost held, I think about it when the crossing lights take longer than they should. I went back to that crossing in November, not to find it but because the route still went there. The light did its same deliberate deciding. I stood and let it take whatever time it needed. Someone else was standing at the corner. I noticed that their hand was far from mine. The crossing doesn't keep the things we've almost done, only I hold them, and I hold them fine. The hand I almost held at the crossing is the weight I carry lightly through the day. Not a wound, more like the shape of something. The past close enough for me to know it was there. The hand I almost held, I've made my peace with, and I walk the crossing now without a backward look. There are lives that happen in the almost reaching, the tilted toward an nearly set. I've been living in the full version of this one, and the almost choices rest now in the bed of who I am. Still here, still at the crossing. The hand I almost held, still almost held, in the version of that evening that I carry gently. I used to wake from it at 3 in the morning, the version where the thing I feared was real. The ceiling in the door, the slow reassembly, the return to knowing what I'm meant to feel. But somewhere in the 3rd or 4th year of it, the nightmare lost the edge it used to keep. The fear that once arrived like something breaking now comes more like a knock before it speaks. The nightmare that softened, I didn't fight it quiet. I think I simply outlasted it with time. The thing that once was sharp enough to wake me now sits at the edge of sleep and doesn't climb. The nightmare that softened, it still visits, but I recognize its face now when it comes. I described it to a friend over an ordinary coffee, not dramatically, just between the usual things. She nodded like she knew the room I'd been in. I thought, this is what being less lonely brings. Some fears require a witness more than fighting. The scene won't take the smallest shape and name things where I spoke it and it changed, not disappeared. Just stepped into the size that seem things are. The nightmare that's over, I didn't fight it quiet. I think I simply outlasted it softened, I've made room for it, the way you make room for the guests you've come to know. I've learned that what we carry long enough gets worn into the shape of something bearable. The nightmare that I held in both my hands became a stone, still real but holdable. I sleep now and don't apologize for sleeping. The nightmare that softened, still there, still mine, but smaller every year. And I am larger. I've been airborne in the way that worry makes you, the kind of hovering that has no altitude. Somewhere between the question and the answer, between the old and the not yet understood. I've been circling the same decision 12 times, the way a plane does when the runway isn't clear. But somewhere in the evening things get simpler, when you've been up long enough to need the ground. A soft landing for the heart, no turbulence required, just the slow descending into something still. The runway lit with everything that didn't break me, the gentle bump, the quiet then the pull. A soft landing for the heart. I've been looking for the kind that asks me nothing on arrival. I woke up knowing what I'd been deciding, the way you know a thing you've known for months. The body had already made its landing somewhere, while the mind was still up counting what it wants. I put my feet down on the morning floor and felt the landing in the soles of both my feet. The heart had touched the ground before I noticed, and I arrived to find it already at rest. A soft landing for the heart, no turbulence required, just the slow descending into something still. The runway lit with everything that didn't break me, the gentle bump, the quiet then the pull. A soft landing for the heart. I finally landed, and the place I've landed is enough. I understand now why they ask you after landing to keep your seat until the plane has stopped. The heart needs just a moment after arriving to recognize the distance that it's dropped. Soft landing for the heart. The wheels are down, the engine's quiet. The runway slowing